In my opinion, the most efficient way to type a maths exam is to use tables inside a Word document. In this short video, I'm going to show you some of the features of the template I have made for you, so you can use it for typing your standard maths examinations in the future. If you can access the template, make a copy and save it with a new name so that you can experiment. When you open the document, it might look like this. You can see that I have used a table. These dotted lines will be visible on your screen, but they will not print. You can hide them if you like, using this function here. View grid lines. If you use an Apple, it's in a different place. I have tried to make this front page look like the 2019 HSC examination. Note that we are going to get a reference sheet, but it's not published yet. Stay tuned for that. Note also that the instruction doesn't say all necessary working must be shown. It says show relevant mathematical reasoning and or calculations. That changed a few years ago and I kind of missed it. Multiple choice used to be 25 questions, looks like it's going to be 15. I have added a few things here at the top and further down at the bottom, including this place for writing students' marks and some comments. The information on page 2 is there so that you could use page 1 and page 2 for two purposes. This could be the notification sheet given to students 2 weeks before the task, and also the front page of the examination. I have checked all the NISA requirements to see what students are permitted and not permitted to bring to the HSC examination. Right now I'm turning the grid lines on again and looking at page 3. It's there to remind you and your colleagues how the template actually works. I have created a place for a long section of text and a long diagram. I thought perhaps that sometimes you might like to have short lines of text aligned with a short diagram. And when it comes to multiple choice, sometimes the answers are very short, sometimes the answers are very long, and sometimes they're in between. So you have 3 different ways to arrange the 4 responses. At the bottom of the page, hang on a minute, I'll just turn off the grid lines. There it is. At the bottom of the page, I have used the template at the top of the page to create a question which does, in my opinion, look just as good as a real HSC question, and it was really easy to type it that way. I'll turn the grid lines back on again and you can see that I have used those cells for the stem and the diagram and the question and the 4 responses, and a blank line to separate this from the next question. And so on page 4, this is where the fun begins. There's the place to type the question. There's a space for a diagram, short text, short diagram, more question, and it's quite easy, by the way. If you decide that you are going to use the short answers, it's quite easy to highlight, right-click, delete rows. There it is. There is one thing to be aware of. You can highlight cells in a row like that. If you go a little bit further, it's important to realize that if you only highlight the cells, when you right-click, there is no option that says delete rows. However, if you do this, clicking in the left margin and seeing that it has gone beyond the right of the table, or you click and drag into the right margin like so, right click, there is an option to delete the entire row. And that's a very useful thing to know when you are working with this template. Another useful thing to know, click, click, right click, split cells. If you wanted to, you could split that cell into 2 or 3 or 4, like so. Moving right along, in section 2 of the sample HSC, there is a whole page devoted to this information. Seems like a bit of a waste to me, but there you go. And then the questions begin on a new page. Now there's still some doubt about how many of these questions there will be and how many marks they will each be worth. So to keep our options open, here is what I suggest. I have created a template for one question, and I suggest that you go click and right click and copy, and that is going to be the first question in section 2. So we might want to make 4 or 5 of those and then get rid of this instruction. Click, right click, delete row. This will be question 16. I'm predicting that they're going to be worth 17 marks each, but I could be wrong. And then we're ready to go. In Ness's sample questions, they have 3 types of question. The first one is this one where there's no A, B, C. It's just a straight out question. Not sure that we're going to get any of those, but just in case we do, you could delete this and type your question there, like so. And maybe a bit of extra space, maybe a diagram, whatever you like. And this is how it's going to look when it's printed. There we go. I have created some dotty lines for the students to write their solutions on. And if you decide that there's too many, you could select, right click and delete those rows. The second type is this one where there's a part A. Just put my grid lines back on again. There it is. Part A worth 1 mark, and you can easily change them like so. And the beauty of this is that if you decide to add more information here, that 2 in the right hand column, it's never going to drop down to the beginning of the next line because it's sitting there in its own little cell, in its own little column. Once again, it's quite easy to get rid of some of the dotty lines. Gone. The third type of question is where we have part A, part 1. And as you can see, the A is indented and the part 1 is indented. I've tried to set that up so that it does look very much like an HSC exam.